Erin. Glad to have you on today. So, we had put out that video not too long ago about tool training and AzTech International University. And this is just kind of like a follow-up on that frequently asked question that we had. Just reiterate, yes, we do tool training, stuff like SRA tools. And I believe, we've done quite a few SRAs lately between the few programs that we're supporting. What is sort of your tool of choice for SRAs?
Sure. Well, for tool training, we do work with SSI tools and Full Monty. Both of these are tools for Monte Carlo simulation, and a lot of it does come down to programmatic or analyst preference. I personally prefer SSI, but again, it's just operator preference.
Yeah, and I mean, depending on the program, the organization and stuff, you guys might already have, or they might already have a tool in place. And, AzTech is very tool agnostic, right? We want to be able to work with anybody in any capacity with their tools and stuff. So I typically work with Full Monty. That's just what I, started off with and what I am most comfortable with as we're working through, SRAs. What are some of the tips and tricks that you've kind of found as we go through and do these SRAs as far as like the tools go?
I think it's really important to look beyond the tools, to be honest. The most important thing about an SRA is starting out with a quality schedule and quality inputs. Both of the tools we talked about ultimately are going to build histograms and tornado charts that are driven to stakeholder communications and make it really easy to understand what you're looking at. But what's really important is starting off with quality inputs, and then more importantly, not looking at it as simply a deliverable, but looking at it as a management action. What do we need to do with this information? What can we learn about our program from this information? And how can we optimize our program and take advantage of all of the opportunities using this information? So a lot of people think it might be about the tool, but I think it's really what happens before and after you use the tool that's really important.
Yeah, and that kind of gets all the way back into kind of health checks and your monthly deliverables and processes there. And then, as they say, like good data in, good data out, and the inverse is true as well. So yeah, all this kind of stuff happens, even before we hit the SRA phase, and you're dealing with other tools at that stage too. And while AIU is not directly, targeted towards one tool or another, it's for this exact reason why we set it up that way, because you need to have that holistic understanding of, well, why am I doing this? Right. And I think you mentioned it there too. It's just like, what's the questions we're trying to answer here? And what does this mean to management? Right. How are we managing this project is the ultimate goal, right?
Right. It's not simply about the deliverables. Those are just really clues and indicators as to what actions we need to take next.
Exactly. And that's kind of like the approach that we take with all this, not just buttonology, right, is the phrase we kind of use, where, you do sometimes, have like the steps, right? And you can say, okay, I press this button and this button and this button, and I get this fancy histogram. But we want to go beyond that, right? And we want to say, okay, what does that mean, right? There's a good presentation from Tom Pollen over at Deltek. I attended the NDIA conference and got to see him do his thing. And in that, my takeaway at least was just, you want to kind of come in here with a narrative, already and sort of answers to some of these questions before you even get into the data and the charts and stuff. All that's great. And it's what we use to then make our claims, but it's, like you said, more about the message, right? More about, what it means to the program.
Absolutely. And I don't know, you just sent that to me this morning. I'm looking forward to watching it.
Yeah, it's a really good presentation. So, shout out to Tom Pollen there. And yeah, any other tips or tricks for folks that are going into these SRAs?
I think that helping to facilitate an accurate 3-point estimate as an input is probably one of the most important things you could do secondary to having quality inputs and driving with it afterwards. I think that focusing on confidence levels and really discussing that and discussing the rationale on where these 3-point estimates are coming from is a great tip and trick. Doing that in the beginning really helps understand the outputs. When you look at a histogram, being able to sanity check it and understand the outputs and understand the components of the 3-point estimate that caused the statistics that you're seeing at the end.
Yeah, because I mean, ultimately, like we need to extract that information, from the CAMs and from the stakeholders that kind of know what their work is, in order, again, to provide good data so we can, put in good data so we can get out good data. So it's just a thread all the way through, right? And not just with SRAs, but all these different processes, again, with all these different tools, it doesn't matter what the tool is. A lot of these fundamental ideas, right? Good data in, good data out, and so on and so forth. All those principles and stuff, we really want to cover and make sure everybody has a nice, fundamental understanding of why are we doing this, what's important about it, and then obviously how to do it, of course, at the end of the day. But that why is very foundational to how we've modeled AzTech International University. So thank you for coming on here, Erin, and sharing some of the wisdom that we have on SRAs. If anybody would like to learn more about AIU, you can go check us out at our website, goaztech.com, and reach out to us, and we'll be happy to share more information about AzTech International University. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.